My name is Phil Salter, and when I got out of the Navy and I was on Swifts, I was a sonar technician, second class. A memorable moments, of course, was the first time we got hit by a rocket. That wasn't bad. I was riding the 36 boat, and I think my officer was here earlier. He told you a story about we had shot out a Viet Cong flag, because you never went in and you picked up a Viet Cong flag out of the ground. You just didn't, because one of the boats, when they first went there, did that and got blown up, booby trap. So we were going past in the Biop River, and we were making gunnery runs on these bunkers, and they had the flags and everything. One of them got hit with a 50 caliber round and went in the river. It was floating down the river, so we grabbed it. And one of my crew had the bright idea, let's put that sucker up and on the antenna and go, when we're coming around, they'll see that we got them. Well, that worked for a while. We went up the river, shot up some more positions. As we were coming out, almost out of the river, heading back to the Coast Guard cutter, which we were operating from, and bam, P-40 rocket. Went in one side, went through the boat, and detonated on the other side as it went out. And it knocked me colder in the mackerel. I don't even remember anything after that, but that was a memorable moment. Well, everything was pretty much, besides me doing your usual patrols, which you had to continue on the coastal, then when ComNav 4B or whoever was in charge would have an operation, they would take, like we never went in with just one boat by ourselves in the rivers. And I'm trying to think of there was many. There was the Kowloon River run we did several times. The Biop was real famous for that. And I don't know, you probably heard the story about Bernanke's Creek. That's what started this off. Well, that was a canal or river right up by the Cambodian border, and we used to go up there, down the Rockjaw. There were just several, and it was just, you would sit out there and they'd say, okay, we got an operation tomorrow, we're going to have the 50, 43, 94, 36 boats. You guys get ready to leave. And we'd go out, we'd either go to an LST or Coast Guard cutter, which was usually a couple miles out, and they would be at the mouth of whichever river or place we were going. They would go for their briefings, our officers, we'd get the boats ready, and then boom, we'd head in. And, we operated with we took Vietnamese rough puffs. We would take them with us. We started taking them and grabbing, putting a bunch on the boats. We go on an operation, put them on the beach, go up, support them, then pick them up. We did some things with some other forces. Like I remember one period we had some mercenaries that we took in, and nobody knew exactly what that was about, but we took them in. They did their thing, and we picked them up. And that was kind of hairy because we took them in at night. And we had to nose, there was 4 boats, we nosed into some pretty heavily forested area. It's pitch black, mosquito, everything. We nosed in and they took left, and we had to sit there and wait for them. Of course, everybody's sitting there and you're hearing noises and everything, but actually nothing happened that night. They did their thing for whatever they were doing, came back to the boat, and we took them out. And the opposite of that is you'd go in on an op, and all of a sudden both sides of the banks would open up, automatic weapons, rockets. And at first we used to surprise them because they weren't expecting us coming in. But in later operations they started setting cute little traps. So things got where we were doing one thing to try to overcome what they were doing to us, so it got pretty dicey in places, but we always managed to do our job. They even tried to put, in some of the smaller canals and rivers, they would put fish traps across the canal or the river, leave 2 openings, one on each side. Well, you're not going to go through those openings, because the 3 boat, I think, found out. They went in, they had a booby trap, blew them up. So we would take Navy SEALs or UDT or EOD people in, they'd blow up the traps. We'd do our thing, go out, 2 days later come back, they'd have them built up again. So it was just this game going on all the time. one of the things that you want to do is, these operations would usually start off with the Army advisors in the group, and they would have an intel on what was happening in certain rivers, and they would have their people telling them what was going on, so we'd plan an operation. And we always had air resources available to us. Usually it was Army, spotters were Air Force, and so we had communications, air to ground, ground to air, with our shotgun, we call him Shotgun. He was the spotter, and they could always muster some forces. I remember one time we had a place called Three Sisters. We had an Air Force sent a B-57 Canberra to support us. We had Vietnamese A-1 support us. Most of the time it was Army helicopters, the Hueys or the Cobras. And the Navy Seawolves, on a couple occasions, they flew Hueys, gunships. They were mainly associated with the PBRs, and we were kind of associated with the Army more than the Navy part. But later in the operations, and I think toward the end of, beginning of 1969, until I left in March, we started doing joint operations with PBRs and Mobile Riverine Force. So then we had Seawolves, we had Army, Navy, and some occasions with the C-47 Dragon gunships or AC-130 Hercules, we had them. So we had a pretty good, at first it was spotty, but later on when we got to working together, it was good cooperation between all the services. Main thing from October 68 till I left in March 69, we were doing mostly river ops, different places. We were engaging the enemy and doing reason I wanted to go to Swiss is I didn't want to be 10 miles out on the destroyer. I wanted to be in where the action was.